well. Okay. So, what are we discussing? Basically, we are discussing adaptations of rice. This is the last topic. Adaptation of rice may you can recall from your knowledge of geography from your O levels that rice is a crop which is grown in paddies. Paddies are intentionally flooded fields, and these intentionally flooded fields are rich in mud. Why do we grow them in mud? Because rice is a plant which is having certain adaptations. It grows very fast in mud and it grows very tall as well. Mud is already having aerobic microorganisms, so you can imagine the conditions inside the mud will be extremely anaerobic. Why is that so? Because aerobic microorganisms would have used up all the oxygen or maximum amount of oxygen within the mud. So the rice plant which is present in the paddies will not have access to a lot of oxygen as far as it is in the mud. But how do you plant the rice plant? You initially plant the crop in a separate field. When it grows to a certain height, you dig it out and you sow it in a separate field, which is paddy. Paddies are intentionally flooded. These crops are planted in the paddies when they are already when they have already attained a certain height. So this is the diagram here on this slide shows you how this region, these are the roots of the rice plant, and this region is the mud, and you can see this much is the aerial part of the rice plant which is exposed to the air. Now what you can see further here, that how do rice survive in paddies? So basically rice may there are certain adaptations, and what are those adaptations? The first adaptation is that the rice plant can grow taller. Its leaves and flower spike, they are held above water, and when they are held above water, they allow exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide through stomata, which is present in the aerial parts of the leaves and the flower spikes. So oxygen and carbon dioxide from the aerial parts which are above the mud, not the ones which are in the mud, not the ones which are in the soil, but the ones which are in exposed to the air. They allow exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide very quickly, and the plant of rice, it grows tall. The second adaptation is parenchyma. Parenchyma is air tissue. Recall your AS knowledge and O-level knowledge. You have seen how spongy mesophyll cells have air spaces around them. Parenchyma is also a similar kind of a tissue with loosely packed cells centered around a large air space, and that is called as the parenchyma tissue. These are loosely packed cells. They have a large air space in the center, and the parenchyma is interconnected. If you go back to the slide above, you can see this diagram here. These are the loosely packed cells of the leaf, and this is where it is cut. This black line is magnified. You can see this lumen here. This entire lumen is is your parenchyma in the leaf. And if you look at the root, if you cut root at this point and you magnify it and you go to an electron micrograph and you magnify it by 100 times, you can see how these parenchyma are present in the roots as well. So if you picture this, so parenchyma are interconnected air spaces which are running throughout the entire length of the rice crop plant. Then whether it is roots, then whether it is in the mud region or whether it is in the leaf, the entire length of the crop plant rice will have these air spaces which are present, and these are called as parenchyma. So this is one adaptation. Then the other adaptation is that these submerged roots, the submerged root which are there in the mud, they undergo anaerobic respiration, keeping in mind that we have already discussed that the mud is already low in oxygen content since aerobic microorganisms have used a lot of oxygen there. So the roots which are in the submerged region, they undergo anaerobic respiration through alcoholic fermentation. We all know that the product of alcoholic fermentation is ethanol, and that ethanol or alcohol is a toxic compound. So if this alcohol is allowed to accumulate in the rice plant, it will cause toxicity to the rice plant. How is this prevented? Rice plant already is having an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase. And alcohol dehydrogenase kya karta hai? It can detoxify alcohol. So when alcohol gets detoxified, its drawbacks or its side effects can be prevented, and rice can very successfully carry out alcoholic fermentation without any without facing any drawbacks from the toxicity of alcohol. The last thing here is the hormones ethine and gibberellins. They promote faster growth. You will be discussing gibberellins later on in your course when you are discussing the inherited chain chapter. In that you will discuss gibberellins and you will see how they promote faster growth. They cause more cell divisions to occur by mitosis. Gibberellins also cause cell elongation by increase in cell size. So you will study this in detail later in your A2. But for now, just learn that ethene and gibberellins, ethene and gibberellins, these are two plant hormones. They promote faster growth. So these are the four main things that you need to keep in mind regarding adaptation of different varieties of rice, which allow rice to grow tall in paddies. Now, beyond the course, just discussing this for your interest, ethene is a gaseous hormone. You don't need to learn this, what I'm telling from now onwards. Ethene is a gaseous hormone. I'm just telling you तो क्योंकि everyday example है. तुम लोगों ने देखा होगा अगर तुम लोग बनानास लेकर आओ और वो बनानास राइप ना हो एंड यू कीप देम इन योर होम, तो 2-3 दिन के अंदर अंदर वो सारे सड़ना शुरू हो जाते हैं. दे गो ऑफ. व्हाई इज दैट सो? बिकॉज the fruit banana, its skin releases ethene, and ethene causes all bananas to ripen up. एक बनाना दूसरे को राइपन करवाएगा, दूसरा तीसरे को राइपन करवाएगा, एंड द एंटायर बंच ऑफ बनानास विल बिकम राइपेंड. द सेम गोज फॉर आम की पेटी. आजकल मैंगोज हैं बहुत ज्यादा, तो मैं आम का सीजन है, सो उसमें भी यही होता है. अगर तुम्हारे पास कोई आम की अगर कहीं पे पेटी हो या तुम लोग कोई बॉक्स परचेज करो और देखो कि वो आम जो है वो दे आर वो थोड़े अभी कच्चे हैं, दे आर नॉट फुली प्रिपेयर्ड, तो आप उस पेटी को बंद कर देते हो, उसको पैक कर देते हो अखबार वगैरह लगा के और लकड़ी से, सो दैट उसके अंदर एयर ना जाए. व्हाई इज दैट सो? क्योंकि वो आम की जो स्किन है ना वो इथीन रिलीज कर रही होती है. हर आम दूसरे आम को पका रहा होता है. सो दिस इज हाउ इथीन इज यूज्ड इन प्लांट इन फ्रूट्स. और ये जो आपके वो होते हैं फ्रूट वेंडर्स जो होते हैं, दे नो दिस वेरी वेल कि एक फ्रूट को दूसरे फ्रूट के साथ अगर रख दोगे तो वो जल्दी पक जाएगा. तो जब वो अपना वेंडर अपना स्टॉल लगाया हुआ होता है ठेला, तो वो अपने पास फ्रूट्स को कभी देखो वो एक पोजीशन में नहीं रहने देता, वो फ्रूट को रोटेट करता रहता है. कभी फ्रूट को हिला के ऐसे घुमा के रख दिया, कभी पलट के रख दिया. वाई इज दैट सो? ताकि उसमें गैशियस हार्मोन एक जगह अक्यूमुलेट ना हो जाए इथीन, वरना वो एक सर्टेन रीजन को इतना ओवर राइपन कर देगा कि वहां से सड़ जाएगा वो फ्रूट. ऐसे तुमने देखे होंगे स्पेशली बनानास में तो बहुत ही कॉमन होता है, या ऑरेंजेस में, कि अगर वो एक ही तरफ से पड़े रहे बहुत देर तक तो वो जगह बिल्कुल गल जाती है, इट गोज ऑफ, और उस जगह तुम्हें नजर आएगा कि वो इतना ज्यादा राइपन हो गया, वो ओवर राइपन हो गया कि वो खाने के भी काबिल नहीं रहता. So this same goes for all fruits, all vegetables, all plants. They all release ethene hormone. It is a gaseous hormone which causes growth. बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है ये इथीन, बट एनी हाउ इसके डिटेल्स कोर्स में नहीं है. ये खाली मैंने तुम्हें आउट ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी समझा दिया ताकि एवरीडे लाइफ से रिलेट कर सको. राइस वैरायटी के लिए तुम्हें याद बस ये रखना है कि इथीन और जिब्रेलिन दो हार्मोन्स हैं which promotes the faster growth of rice. So this is what I needed to discuss in adaptations of rice. Keep that in mind that this is an important topic of your energy and respiration chapter. And जब तुम energy respiration chapter पढ़ रहे होते हो ना, you tend to give very you can say less emphasis on this topic because somehow this looks very unimportant. बट इसका जब क्वेश्चन आ जाता है ना तो उसमें ये सारे 5-6 पॉइंट जितने मैंने तुम्हें यहाँ पे समझाए ये एज इट इज लिखने होते हैं, उसी भी आपको मार्क्स मिलते हैं. सो मेक श्योर दैट यू गेट दिस थिंग वेरी वेल.